Next morning, when we got up, the first thing I thought of was Till Owlyglass. Will he get caught at last, I said. Maybe this time somebody will get the better of him. Maybe have him put to death or something. No, said my brother. Till always escapes. He's great. No, I'm not so sure, I said. He got it pretty close to it that last time. So by the time we were ready to go and see Horst, we were fairly busting to find out what was going to happen. We dashed into Horst's room, and there he was, sitting at the table as usual, one hand on the table, one hand on his knee. I said, "Does he get caught today? Does he get caught?" "Who?" said Horst. "Till Owlyglass," I said. "Never heard of him," said Horst. "He has, hasn't he?" I said to my brother. But my brother was looking at something on the wall. Horst had hung our pictures there. So my brother said to Horst, "Him, on the wall." "Oh, yes, I remember," said Horst. "Yeah, the King of Denmark." No, said my brother. "Till Owlyglass, you're only teasing us." All right, said Horst. "I'll tell you what happened next." The next place Till went to was a town called Lubeck, where he decided he'd have to be really careful and not get up to any of his usual tricks, because the people were very strict in Lubeck. And haven't I only just escaped being hanged in Lüneburg? He thought to himself. But we know Till, don't we? Even though he promised himself he wouldn't get up to any of his usual nonsense, in the end, he couldn't stop himself. And this is what happened. In Lubeck, there was an innkeeper who was always boasting. He was a real show-off. He kept telling people that he was the wisest man in town, the man with the quickest brain. "I'm so quick," he said, "I'll never be caught out. No one could get the better of me." When Till heard about this fellow, he thought, he thought, he'd love to have a go at him. So he found 2 jugs, both exactly the same size, the same shape, and the same colour. One of them he filled with water, and the other he left empty. Then he hid the one full of water under his cloak, and he took the empty jug into the inn and put it on the counter. There he asked for a pint of wine, and the innkeeper filled Till's empty jug and put it on the counter. And then Till pretended he had tripped, and he deliberately knocked over a bottle that was standing on the counter. So, of course, the innkeeper bent down to pick up the pieces of the bottle. Now Till quickly swapped the jug full of wine with the jug full of water. So the jug full of wine was under his cloak, and there was a jug full of water standing on the counter. When the innkeeper had finished cleaning up the broken glass, Till asked, "How much is the wine?" "2 shillings a pint, and cheap at that, sir." "You must be joking, mate," said Till. 2 shillings for this stuff?" And he took a sip of the water. "This is rubbish. I wouldn't give you more than 1 shilling for it. You might as well chuck it away, because I'm not having it." The innkeeper was really cross. "Look, my wine is high quality," he said. "If it's good enough for the Lord Mayor of this town, then it's good enough for you. And as for the price, it'll be cheap at 3 shillings, let alone 2. I'm not going to let you have it for less, but if you can't pay up, then get out and I'll pour it back into my barrel." But Till wouldn't go, and he wouldn't pay. And this made the innkeeper even more angry. "Look, get out of here, you fool," he shouted. "You don't know what's good for you, you idiot. Now just get out of my shop and don't hang about pestering honest, hard-working people." In the end, Till shrugged his shoulders and left with the jug full of wine under his cloak. But just as he was going out of the door, he said, "I don't care if I am a fool. You ought to be more polite to people who come into your shop. And anyway, even the wisest men sometimes fall for tricks played by fools." And then he ran off down the street. Of course, the moment the innkeeper heard that, he guessed something was wrong, even if he didn't quite know what it was. So he shouted, "Stop thief, stop thief!" and ran off up the road after Till. "Stop thief! Till ran as fast as he could, but a group of city constables heard the shouting, and soon they were after him as well. It was one of them who caught him. They searched him and found the jug full of wine under his cloak. The innkeeper was delighted. Aha! You thought you could trick me, the sharpest fellow around, he crowed. Nobody tricks me and gets away with it. You've had your little laugh, have you? You wait till I have you up before the judges. They'll hang you for this, and I'll have the last laugh. So, poor old Till was bound up and taken before the judges. Secretly, they were pleased the innkeeper had been tricked. But Till had broken the law, and they were bound to pass sentence on him. Till Owlyglass, the chief of the judges said, you are guilty of stealing the innkeeper's wine. You are condemned to die. And Till was dragged off to prison to await his execution. Old Man Horse stopped there. You can't stop now, I said. No, that's all for today, said Horse. No. Oh, no, you can't leave it like that. We won't sleep thinking about it. You really want to hear the awful truth, do you? Yeah, we said. All right, said Horse. Poor old Till sat in his little prison cell, waiting for the hangman to take him to the gallows. But amazing though it may be, he didn't seem to mind. He sat there in the dark, as cheerful as ever, making fun of the guard. Hard luck, you're in prison, Till said to him. Yeah, well, it's not me who's in prison, said the guard. Well, said Till, I'll tell you something for nothing. You'll still be here after I've gone. And of course he was right. The guard would still be there after Till was dead and gone. On the last night before Till was due to die, the guard brought him his last meal. Till seemed to enjoy this meal more than usual. Hey, guard, what's the best meal in your life? He asked. The next one, said the guard, thinking that this would make Till unhappy. Oh, hard luck, said Till. This is the best meal in my life because I know I'll never have to eat such muck again. The day of the execution was stormy and wet. But in spite of this, a huge crowd gathered to see Till die. Till was brought on a cart through the streets of Lubeck. Some people were sad because they had laughed at his tricks and they were pleased that he had got the better of the innkeeper. But others were glad that Till had been caught at last, and this was his last day on earth. Till passed the innkeeper and his friends, who shouted at him, It just goes to show, no matter how clever you think you are, the law catches up with you in the end. Till smiled and laughed, and someone called out, What a shame, it's a rainy day, Owlyglass. Don't worry about that, said Till. I'm luckier than you. I won't get wet coming back in the rain. At last, the cart arrived at the special place where Till was to be hanged, and Till climbed up the ladder. The hangman put the rope round Till's neck. Then Till turned to the crowd and said these words, Lord Mayor, aldermen, merchants, and townspeople of Lubeck, you have decided I must die, and so it must be. I don't ask you to pardon me. There's no point. I've always believed that we should all live short and happy lives, and that's what I've had, a short and happy life. But before I die, I would like to ask one last favour. I hope no one will deny me that. The chief judge thought for a moment and then said, Yes, it's true. It is an old custom to allow a sinner one last wish before he dies. But will my wish be granted? Said Till. I promise you that your wish will be granted, said the judge, but only so long as you do not ask to live. You do not ask for anything that will make us late doing what we have to do to you, and so long as it doesn't cost us any money. You promise me, on your honour, said Till, in front of all these people of Lubeck, that you will carry out my wish? We promise, said the judge. What is your wish? I would like every judge, the Lord Mayor, and all his aldermen to come every morning for 3 days to where I'm lying dead. And one by one, I would like each of them to kiss my bum 3 times before breakfast. When Till said this, there was uproar. People cheered and shouted and laughed. The judges and the Lord Mayor and the aldermen looked at one another. Well, that's not really fair, you know. Well, it doesn't matter if it's fair, said Till. You promised. And the crowd took up the cry. You promised, you promised, you promised. Of course, none of the judges or the aldermen or the Lord Mayor wanted to kiss a dead man's bum 3 times before breakfast, and they knew that the people of Lubeck would make them keep their promise. They quickly realised there was only one thing they could do. They would have to set Till free. So, angrily and sadly, they had to take Till down from the scaffold and send him away, and off he went, grinning all over his face. Even so, he made very sure never to show his grin in Lubeck ever again. Phew, I said. I don't believe it. He got away. I never thought he'd do it that time. My brother was still laughing. No one would kiss his bare bum. Now listen here, said Horst. You keep that story to yourself. Don't go running around all over the place telling people about it. You'll get me into trouble for telling you rude stories. All right, said my brother. We won't tell anyone. But I knew that the moment we got back to England, my brother would tell all his friends that one. Now off you go, said Horst. And off we went.